Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury and other fellow debaters alike. Today, I will be on the side that is against the motion of the government should provide significant financial incentives for urban citizens to move to rural areas. But before we continue, I would like to first introduce myself. My name is Fathir Raka. I am from SMA Sakti. I am in the 10th grade. Urban, over, urban overpopulation is in fact a problem. Too many people live and migrate into sprawling urban environments such as cities that are considered to be economic centers and or capital cities that play an important part of a nation's government. This causes too many people to be in one place at the same time. Overpopulation is a problem that does need to be solved. But solving the problem by just giving the people government issued financial incentives is not at all an efficient way to solve the problem. Some governments have also tried giving their citizens the financial boost to push them to move out from the overpopulated areas, but the results are not effective, or even in certain cases doesn't work at all because of certain factors in which I will address next. My first argument will be about the infrastructure in these rural areas, or lack thereof. Logically, if a new underdeveloped area is going to have an increase in activities, infrastructure is needed to accommodate the newcomers coming from the metropolitan areas. The infrastructure in question are places of education such as schools, health centers, i.e. hospitals, housing complexes, and places of business. These are factors that are basically non-existent in these rural areas. And the people who have been given these financial incentives automatically has to create and build their own infrastructures to fulfill their needs. So most of the infrastructures being built are being built by different and independent individuals and not the centrally united government. So the newly built urban environment will be made without considering how it would look and function when it is finished, unlike a planned city environment which is built to specifically accommodate the masses. While these new individually built quote-unquote cities might not be able to fulfill their role as an urban environment. My second argument, I would like to discuss the environmental effect in that these newly built cities in the underdeveloped areas. Most rural areas outside of the big metropolitan cities potentially harbor different species of flora and fauna and are much more environmentally friendly. By incentivizing the population of a big metropolitan city to migrate to these unpolluted and ecologically friendly areas, it might cause catastrophic environmental issues that not only endanger the local ecosystem, but it could also endanger the arriving population. Newly built urban areas require a significant amount of space, and what's mostly covering the large amount of land outside the cities? That's right, forests and crops. And to build these new cities, the forests are cut down and the crops are destroyed. Not only will this cause an ecological disaster due to the deforestation, but it will also disturb and limit the people's food supply, possibly causing a widespread famine and also cause malnutrition of the next generation. And this will also, of course, negatively affect the entire nation in the long run. My third argument will now touch on the matter of jobs and occupancies of the people that will move to the rural areas. Companies create jobs for the people, and their main objective of a company is to generate profit, whether it is through technological industry or the engineering industry. But what does most companies need? A workforce. And companies get their workforce from the abundance of people living in these urban areas. So companies will station themselves in places where there are people. Now back to the topic of the government giving incentives to people for them to move to rural areas. Why would the general population move to a place without jobs? It makes no logical sense. How would those people provide for themselves and their families, unlike the local population of those areas who are already accustomed to living outside the big city? And there are no strategic advantages for a mega corporation that gives jobs to thousands of people to relocate to an underdeveloped area where the workforce is not as many, or let's just say, whose quality is less than the workforce of a big city. Even if these companies were to relocate. They would first need to develop the new area to accommodate their needs, which would require a very significant amount of funds that most companies cannot or most likely will not pay for that area's development. Because why would they, when they can just stay in the big city without any financial risks? Now, in conclusion, although urban overpopulation is a problem that has to be addressed, by allocating government funds to incentivize the people is not the way to solve it, as it would cause more problems than it would solve. As I've addressed in my first and second argument about the lackluster infrastructure and ecological risks respectively, I believe there are other ways for a nation or government to solve the overpopulation problem, other than the solution stated by the motion. Instead of giving financial incentives to the people in the city, the government should instead give that financial aid to the people of said rural areas, so they themselves can urbanize and develop those areas. Or another solution is for the government to develop those areas using the resources at their disposal to minimize the risks, yet maximize the potential of the area. For example, an underdeveloped area with a natural beauty such as a beach or waterfalls can be used for recreational purposes to bring in and attract people into that area. So, when there are more people in that area, it opens up more jobs, and companies are more attracted to relocate there, as there are now more people in that area. Companies such as hotels, restaurants, bars, and other recreational companies are more likely to move when there are more people there. And since there are now more jobs for more people come from the big city to come and work in that particular area, thus helping increasing the local population and adding more income to develop that area and increase the quality of life there. That is all from me today. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to present my arguments. Good afternoon, everyone. Goodbye.